and you know, her mum, she's there with her mum, and they're both not coping. But because she's caring for her mum, she's worried about her mum, but it's impacting on her as well. And she doesn't have that support. So she contacted me to say if I could direct her, signpost her to a counsellor or a bereavement group. And I just said to her, just give me a call, you know, and we spoke, and I was very, very grateful that I was able to share with her how I felt and what I did. And she didn't have to go any further. We've now kind of, she said she was grateful that I was able to share and to just say to her, you're okay, how you're feeling and where you're at, it's okay. You know, so that's what I would say for anybody that hasn't got the support, to accept how you're feeling, but don't suffer unnecessarily, but also bear in mind the person that you're grieving for. What would they say to you? How, you know, because that's the other thing that I tapped into with my mum. I knew my mum would want me to be that way. So that's the other thing is, once the physical's gone, they say memories don't live like people do. They always follow you. So that's another way as well, is to think about that person, the relationship that you had. You know, what would they say to you right now, where you're at and how you're feeling? And that's what I do sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's important. I mean, one thing for me, when my father passed away, my two sons, his grandsons, and they were his first grandson. The eldest one felt it badly. The younger one was 9. The eldest one was 14. And he felt it really badly. He was devastated. So if, you know, for your mum's great grandson, how's he coping? And what support can you give children going through such bereavement, especially with a grandparent, because that's the first, or a parent, that's the first kind of bereavement they're going to know, especially when they're around that age.
And absolutely, because prior to that, we wouldn't have let him go to funerals. We wouldn't sort of, you know, we wouldn't, if he doesn't have to be there, we don't, you know. But obviously this is his great grandmother. He has to be there, you know. We allowed him, I mean, he did, you know, he couldn't go to school for a little while because he was quite angry. You know, for him it was why, you know, and then it was, is Nana all right? You know, the questions, which is natural, because I used to think, I wonder if she was okay when she took that last breath. You know, you kind of go through all of that. She didn't suffer. But for Zion, it took a period of time, but what we had to do, especially myself, was to just be there for him. I spent a lot of time with him. I took him to the grave with me, you know, so whatever we were doing, when we go, we'll take him and we'd talk about Nana. We'd talk about Nana, and he would say, do you remember when I used to do this to Nana? And, you know, so we would still keep her memory alive, you know, and where my mum is, her resting place, she's like she's in a garden. She's covered in flowers because my mum loved flowers, you know, so we got those silk flowers, and, you know, we haven't tombed her yet. We're going to be doing that this year. But when you go there, she's shining brightly. So every opportunity, and he'll say to me, can we go and visit Nana? You know, but the times where he's on his own, or he was feeling low, and he shared that sometimes people didn't understand, and some days he'd struggle at school, and he would say it's almost like they don't care that he's lost his nan, you know. So we would just take him out of school and say, what do you want to do today? Shall we go and see Nan, or do you want to do something else? What do you want to do? So it's about, you know, we have to be in the moment. We have to face it. It's hard. And my daughter, I mean, she was up and down, but I did what I had to do. And my brother also, even though my brother, it impacted on him really badly, and he retreated. I didn't see my brother for about 4 months. He shut down completely. But it's support. Support is so, I cannot emphasize the importance, and support can be just having one word, just asking a question. Sometimes I talk to strangers on the bus, and I'll just tell them, I'll just say, I just lost my mum. you know, and they may not be listening, but the fact that their presence,
Yeah.
you know, so you've literally got to, anything that you need to do, you've got to do it, you know. And my mum would say, pride doesn't feel pain. One of her favourite sayings, pride doesn't feel pain.
Yeah. I just had a thought, and it's gone straight. Oh yes. You know, for what age do you feel that we should start talking to children about death? What age do you feel that we should start preparing them? Because it's not necessarily talking about death in the sense of we all must die one day, but preparing them for the moment that a loved one will die. What do you think, if you know, your mum had talked about it more with her great grandson, that he would have been better prepared, or with you and your siblings, you would have been better prepared? I know nobody can prepare for death because each death is different and each one hits us in a different way. But are there conversations that you feel we need to have? Because I know, especially from, you know, our background, it's not really thought to bring young children to funerals. You know, so what age should they?
I don't think it's a what question. I think it's something that we should prepare for. In terms of, like, we never had those conversations, but because I experienced death at a young age, I knew about the loss, but I didn't understand it. But when my dad went, obviously my dad's not there anymore. I want my dad in it. Where's he gone? But I never really understood it, if you see what I'm saying. My mum never discussed it. I think it's something that you can't kind of just have that conversation with your children because they're not going to want to hear it. I haven't had that conversation with my children. But what I've done is I've prepared. So what I've said, and I've said to them, because they're at that age now, I mean, they're 30, one's 40 and one's 36. I've done my will. I've given my daughter a copy of my will, my eldest daughter, yeah? She knows I retired. I said, right, I've done this, all of that. You're going to have a copy. And she, oh, Mum, I don't want to hear about that. But you need to have this, because in the unlikely event, you know, I don't want you lot to not grieve because I've not done certain things. So that's one thing I learned from my mum, having the opportunity to see my mum grow old, is I've prepared things. So that if it does happen, at least they'll be able to grieve for me. They don't have to worry about the financial side of things. That's one thing that I would encourage. I wouldn't say to what... I haven't had that conversation.
Yeah. See, I'm the total opposite, because when my dad died, as I said, you know, my boys were 9 and 14, and like you know, with your mum's great grandson, we had conversations. We just used to talk about granddad, the things he used to do, have a laugh and joke, keep the memory there, so that, you know, every time they wanted to talk, you'd listen and share and whatever. And but also at the same time, I learned from my dad, because when we had to go through his stuff, it was so unorganized. I had to search through and find things. So what I learned from there was to put things in order. So that was a lesson for me, for myself, to put my papers in order for my kids. And, you know, the following year, I said to my eldest, who was 15, if anything happens to Mum, give Auntie Teresa this folder. He goes, what is in it, Mum? I said, just give it to Auntie Teresa. He didn't have to know at that age what was in it. But he knew it. If anything happened to Mum, give it to Auntie Teresa. You know, and again, like your mum, I prepared all my insurance papers, my will, because I got that done because of my dad, and everything else was in there. You know, and today the box is still there. So they still know it's there. But then we went on, I think, a few years after that, to say, I was discussing what I wanted if I died. And I started, but the way we brought up the conversation was in a fun way, because I said, if I die, I said, this is what I want. It's like, oh, don't talk about that, Mum. No, no, no. You have to listen because you have to know what I want. Because if you give me something I don't want, I'm going to haunt you. And they start laughing. So, you know, I say, right. So I want to be cremated, and I want to, I'm going to leave some money so that you can go on a cruise, and then you can see beautiful water, because I've always wanted to travel. Yeah. And I used to say to them, and if you put me in the River Thames, I'm going to haunt you. Just to make it a joke thing, so that they remember it in their head. Mum wants to be cremated. She wants to go in the water, but not the River Thames, you know, so they can laugh at it when I'm gone.
Yes.
And I used to say to them, make sure when I have my party, I said, I want a party. I don't want nobody crying. And make sure that Auntie Julie and Auntie Elaine, I said, even if they're in their Zimmer frame, they're doing the candy dance. And they were killing themselves laughing because they know I love candy. But it's about preparing them. At that young, because he was 16 and the younger one was 11. And I always tell them every now and then, I remind them what I want. Just, Mum, we know. Got to do the candy. Got to do this.
And that's it. It is how you do it and when you do it. And obviously my children know I want a wicker basket. I want enough reggae music. They know, but we don't, you know, because I know they don't want to, just like me. But obviously, yes, you say it in a jovial way, but it's very difficult to kind of have that conversation, if you know what I mean. But like the way you just explained it, that's, you know, but it's life. And I think we do need to have more of these conversations. I think because I know the peace that we've felt, knowing that we've done the best by our mother. My mum was proud on that day. You know, I know she's still proud of us, and her spirit is alive, you know. So, and it gives you that peace of mind, because if you know that time comes and then you're in a position where it's very hard, it's difficult, you're struggling and all of that stuff, it impacts on you. And I've seen it with some of my friends, you know, how they've not been able to do certain things, and, you know, they're not settled, they won't be. I've got a friend in particular, when she goes to where her mum is laid, she can't even find where her mum is, you know, and because she's been gone a long time, but she's the only one, and there's a big family of them, and it's really traumatized her. And, you know, she's buried where my mum is, and I remember us going up, and she said, I feel really embarrassed. I said, look, don't worry about it. What you do, you get it done. And you do it in whatever way you can. You just put something around it, put some flowers on it so it marks the spot. And just, you know, take your time. And if it's important that you get it done, get it done. Because it's not about anybody else. It's about how you feel, you know, in terms of that relationship with that person, or the spirit that is left behind. So I think we need to have these conversations more. And I thank you, because it's part of the healing as well. Part of the healing, you know, because at first I was a bit, the memory, but it's very important because it heals you, but it also prepares somebody else.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. The lessons that we learn by the pain that we go through does always help somebody else, because we don't know what they're going through. And to be encouraged to see us get through the other side. You know, grief has no time span for when it will go away.
No.
But it does ease. It does ease. Now, you know, my mum personally has passed away 4 years now, 2015, she left. And it gets easier now. And sometimes I miss her like crazy, you know what I mean? And I do have my little bouts of tears, and I wish my mum was here, you know what I mean? But at the same time, she's given me strength. And I look back at what they've given us, because when you look back at the legacy they've left, which is us, our children, our grandchildren, that's what they've left us. And it will go on and on and on.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And, you know, my grandson says that. He always says, if it wasn't for Nana, none of us would be here. He always says that, you know. And as you say that, what I just realized is, I always just say my mum's the root, So I'm the trunk,